Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bass in Southwest, Bass in Midwest today. This is part number 2 of our trip to Table Rock Lake. As you can see here, me and my son started out fishing some slips. There's a ton of these all over this lake. We didn't really get much in the open areas, so we decided to go fish boat docks, and I'm glad we did. We caught quite a few fish doing this. This was first fish of the day. Finally caught a smallmouth. This lake has all 3 species, large, spotted, and smallmouth, and this was our only smallmouth of the trip, and it was a baby, but we caught all 3 species, and so I was happy. Showing off the baby there. Having to do a voiceover because the microphones, again, for some reason, I don't know if it's having them both plugged in at once, but they were making that kind of helicopter sound, so had to mute all the videos and do the voiceover. So here we are again, just flipping a dock. At this point I was using a X-Zone muscleback craw, but the smaller version, and this was deep. Out off this dock was probably around 20 to 25 feet, and I just pitched up into the corner there, and this fish ate it pretty good. You know, and this was all within the span. You know, I'd caught that little smallmouth in like slip number 2, and then this is off the end of the dock, so it was happening pretty quick that we found that the dock bite was going to be pretty solid for the morning, so we just rolled with it for a little longer. Just a nice, fat, healthy spot. These spotted bass are so much fun. I wish we had them here in Arizona. You can see how fat that fish is. That fish right there, I bust out the scale just to give everybody an idea of how much it weighs. This fish weighed 1 pound 14 ounces. And just goes to show how fat they are. That was not a very big fish, but it was a very heavy fish. Yeah, if you guys get the chance, visiting the Big Cedar Lodge and fishing on Table Rock was quite an experience. We caught fish this good, and they had the worst cold front of the spring, from what I understand, coming into it the day that we arrived. So we were fishing post frontal the whole time, and we were still catching fish, and quite a few. And today we caught some big ones. So now we're on the second dock in line. There were 4 docks on this bank, and the main creek channel wasn't very far off from these docks, and I think that's why they were so good, because the main swing came in and then it came up the shelf and you were right into docks. So these fish could be up in that area and then scoot back down to the deeper water. So again, just another little spot here, and they were ferocious. They were so much fun. Again, I really wish that Arizona had these. That was me talking a little trash to Matthew. He whooped my butt the day before. He was catching all the fish, and then, you know, I was my 3rd one. I was asking him, you know, where you at, bud? I'm catching him up today. He wasn't feeling it very much. So this ended up being a pretty solid one here. Fun to watch. Nothing better than picking up and feeling the tap and feeling the pressure, and knowing when you swing on a fish exactly what's going to be on the other end. So if you look in the background there, that's about where our cabin was on that shoreline over there. You can't see them through the trees, but we were right there on the water. It was pretty amazing. Oh, a little too big to boat flip. I probably could have got away with a boat flip on him, but I didn't want to miss him. He only ended up being, I think this one was 3.5 pounds. I get a weight on it too, and I would have said in the video, but again, the audio got a little jacked up, so he had it in there pretty good. You know, I know Table Rock has fish far larger than this, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing more fun than catching a good fish. You know, a 3.5, 3 pounder. I could catch them all day and be just as happy as a, you know, 6 pounder. But, you know, this trip today, I think my best 5 would have been somewhere around 14 or 15 pounds. You know, I had this guy at 3.5. I had a couple of them 2 pound spots. I had a very solid day on the water. Now I'm sure anybody from Table Rock's going to say 15 pounds isn't doing you much. in the month of April, but I was happy with it with the conditions we were faced with. So here on this one, there, yeah, Matthew's getting his right there. That was just after I caught that 3.5 pounder, and we continued to fish this dock for a minute, thinking there might be a bigger school there. Those are the only 2 we could catch, but here he is with a fat little spot. He had tied on a Ned rig with the X Zone Ned Zone in the craw laminate color, and was just hopping it along behind me and smashed himself a good 2-pound spot. And then these kids, I don't know what it is, you turn the camera on, they all gotta act like a big goober. Figured I wasn't gonna see that or something, I don't know. And then I talked to him, he's like, oh, I'm busted. So, goofy kids. Alright, moving on to the next. We'd fished across a big cove on the way to these next docks, and we didn't have any luck just yet, so I had missed one on this bank. Spot had chased my jig as I was reeling it up, and he just didn't need it. So we stayed here for just a second. I made a really long cast over to the very first corner of that dock, started working it out, and got thumped here. Got to figure out a way to remember the sunlight. This whole time, this whole camera's been pointed into the sun. Not good. Not good for video quality for sure. Still learning, still trying to figure all this out. The recording software that I've been using had an update or something and it quit working on my Chromebook here. That's right, I don't use anything super expensive. I was using Power Director. This time I'm using Kinna something. Can't remember what it's called. I'm trying it out new. I'm seeing that the video again is also maybe just a little bit glitchy. I'm gonna work on that and I'll get it all figured out so these get better. You can see there, that's the main marina at Big Cedar. We had just fished the bank across it and it just kind of necks down right there. And I started fishing my jig and just hopping it down the bank. These fish didn't seem to be right on the bank. They wanted to be out just a little ways. I think they wanted to be there, but the cold spell, from what I could gather, it had dropped the water about 5 or 6 degrees from a couple days before we got there. So I think it pulled them off just a little, and we were able to catch them that way. That right there was just a solid 3-pound largemouth. Again, I weighed it just to make sure. Just a fat, chunky. All the fish that we caught were super fat. They were all big bellied, especially the spotted bass. They had some gigantic bellies. They were literally little footballs. Put him in the live well. We were trying to get all three, a good one of all three species, to do the thumbnail, and we just couldn't catch a good size smallie and didn't get it in there. So then we move across to the slips here at the marina. We saw a bunch of stuff suspended, and turns out there was a big school of crappie down there, so we decided to sit there and spoon for a little while and catch a few crappie, because even those are fun. But the way we had seen it, what I thought were crappie on the graph sometimes weren't. They were spots, and I don't know if that's the way that spots set up normally or not. Maybe somebody can chime in on that. But they were schooled up on my graph like crappie. You know, most bass, they'll stay kind of low to the ground or whatever, or you'll get a school of crappie and they'll be stacked up on top of each other. Well, the spots were stacked up on top of each other too. Maybe there were just that many in the area, but they weren't hugged to the bottom. So we would stop and fish any school like that we saw, because we had caught some spooning that way the day before. And then so here we go. We got the jerk bait out. Just fishing the bank back the other way. We were getting ready to move, and I just figured maybe if these fish were suspended, they would eat a jerk bait. I threw it a lot. This was the only fish I caught on it. So we had heard and watched some guide videos on Table Rock that the swim bait bite was really killing it, and maybe it was the couple days before, or maybe they were doing something different with it. We struggled with the swim bait bite. We went and got a bunch of heads and a bunch of swim baits, and we really threw it a lot, and Matthew caught one, and that was really about it. So we resorted to some other things. It was really crazy for me to be in the last video spooning in 10 feet of water and catching fish. It was really wild to me. It makes me think about the times that we're at Roosevelt and they're busting the shad like that. Who says you can't park your boat in the middle of the shad and let them get used to you and just sit there with a spoon and spoon them up in 10 feet of water or something? I don't know. It worked though. There's just another. God, them spots were so fat. It was so much fun, guys. I gotta be honest. So here we're looking at the video that Kindle took for me because I had shut down the GoPro for the day. This was the biggest fish of the day. Of course, I'd gone to pick up all the family and had shut the GoPro down. You know, it's just too hard with that many people to get the good clean shot. So luckily she had her little camera with her that she just got for her birthday, and it's a good thing because she got me catching this here 4-pound largemouth off a dock. And like I said, biggest one of the day, biggest one of the trip. And it's nothing crazy huge, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's just a solid way to end the day. So alright guys, that's it. That's the end of it. I hope you guys liked it. The first one didn't get as many views as I thought, but you know, here it is. This is Table Rock. Let's go ahead and like, subscribe, leave some comments, guys. Give me some feedback, and we'll get back to you guys on the next one. Till then, tight lines. See ya.